And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Sunday morning, there's some IFR into the west coast here, and to the south, marginal VFR down across Bristol Bay, and to the north, some VFR showing up for the western Arctic coast into the NOAA Valley, and then back to IFR there for the central Arctic coast, part of the eastern area too there. Eastern part of the state, mostly VFR, lower conditions up over the Yukon Flats, but VFR all the way down here into the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. And northern Panhandle got marginal VFR pushing northward here with some IFR now showing up by tomorrow morning over the southern southeast coast. And the marginal VFR pushes up into northern Lynn Canal area. Southeast interior stays VFR to the north, areas of IFR with some VFR still over the Brooks Range. Back to the west coast here, areas of IFR. Marginal VFR over the eastern Bering Sea and VFR here for portions of the central Aleutians. And then for Monday morning, IFR here from Kotzebue Sound, southward in across, down into the Kuskokwim Bay area, eastward to the Kuskokwim Mountains. East of there, VFR, Tanana Valley, Alaska Range, all the way down into Cook Inlet and the North Gulf Coast here. Marginal VFR, mostly marginal over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, but some VFR showing up here for the Fox Islands, maybe the Pribilofs, possibly in the afternoon, and then for the far western Aleutians. Gulf of Alaska, VFR, but the southeast coast, marginal VFR with IFR over toward the Canadian border. And then for Monday afternoon, IFR, Lynn Canal, marginal VFR down the southeast coast with some IFR trying to push in toward Prince of Wales Island. Central eastern part of the state, mostly VFR. Still IFR here along the west coast, into the interior actually, into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, Bristol Bay VFR. Swath of VFR now here across south central Bering Sea, mostly marginal for Madak, right up the Alaska Peninsula for passes for the Brooks Range tomorrow, and a Tuvik marginal VFR, possibly a VFR for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR for the western Alaska Range. Actually, the entire Alaska Range will be VFR tomorrow, the way it looks at this point in time. Rainy, windy. Isabel, Mentasta, all forecast to be VFR, as well as Tanita, Portage, another VFR day coming up there. And for Chilkoot and White, starting out VFR, moisture coming northward, becoming marginal during the afternoon hours toward evening. And for the freezing levels, here right across the Bering Sea, just south of the Pribilofs, in across Kodiak Island, and then down across the Panhandle, 2,000 feet there, Prince of Wales Island. Otherwise, 2,000 feet off the chart here down to the south. Icing could be some considerable moderate rime icing here. Bristol Bay area up into Dillingham, and the other area, a little bit more widespread here for the southeast coast. And from there, looking at the jet stream, main jet now south of the Panhandle, cutting across the Queen Charlotte Islands. Otherwise, southerly flow here, not too strong over the western interior. And even out to the west, the main jet down off the chart. And for 9,000 feet, light variable winds here over interior Alaska from the Arctic coast down to Kodiak Island, into the Gulf even. And then it looks like some 40-knot northerlies here across the Bering Sea, mostly down into the western central Aleutian areas. And then southwest at about 40 knots, blowing across the southern Panhandle. 3,000 feet, 35 knots there. Southeast coast down to the south there, lighter up to the north, and easterlies 20 to 30 knots for the central eastern Arctic coast, 35 knots out of the north there for the Alaska Peninsula. Turbulence, considerable moderate turbulence, likely here from about Yakutat all the way down toward Dixon Entrance, and also for the Alaska Peninsula.